Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 546 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our sixth book just came out. It's called I'm So Beautiful, It's Ridiculous, Unleashing and Promoting Strength, Self-Worth, and Real Sisterhood. So go and pick up that book on Amazon or Barnes& Noble today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, when I graduated from college, I decided that I was going to buy myself a brand new Ford Mustang because I figured I had earned it and I wanted to impress other people. And there were also times back then where I had very little money for food because of that decision. So if I could do it all over again, I would probably buy a used car and save all of that extra cash in a 401k that would have had compounded interest for the last 30 years. So today I want to talk about financial futures and some advice that might actually help today's undergraduates to build long-term security. So let's talk to our next guest about that. Michelle Taylor is the founder of the Women in Wealth Initiative, a transformative platform aimed at empowering women to take control of their financial futures. With over a decade of experience in financial services, Michelle is committed to closing the wealth gap by providing financial education and a supportive community from all walks of life. Michelle's initiative helps women define and achieve their version of financial success with confidence and clarity. Michelle has overcome some personal adversity, including battling leukemia at age 17 and launching a business at 27. Her passion for financial empowerment stems from both professional expertise and also personal experiences. She is known for her relatable and energetic storytelling, and Michelle speaks frequently on topics such as closing the pay gap, financial freedom, and overcoming adversity. So, whether through her initiative or as a sought after speaker and consultant, Michelle's mission remains clear: to break down financial barriers and inspire confidence in every aspect of your financial life. Thanks so much. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
It is an honor to have you on the show. And anytime we're going to be talking about finances, I have to tell you, the college students are very, very interested because they want to be successful. They want to earn a lot of money and they want to figure out how they can ensure long-term security in their lives. They're certainly well aware of what's going on with the economy right now, what's happening to the
Yeah.
stock market, what's happening to interest rates. I mean, there's so much to talk about, and they are keenly aware of all of these things. So we're going to get to that in a minute. But I was just kind of wondering about your undergraduate experience because I know you decided on Florida Atlantic University. And I'm wondering, why did you decide on FAU?
So to be fair, I didn't initially decide on FAU. I was brainwashed from a very early age that I was going to be a Florida Gator and never even applied anywhere else. But with the leukemia diagnosis, the summer before my senior year, that kind of threw a little bit of a wrench in things. I ended up going up to Gainesville, starting at Santa Fe. My parents didn't want me to overcommit, even though I was ready for it. Um, but then met a boy, and I was a business major. And as so many sad stories go, I transferred after a couple of years up in Gainesville to Florida Atlantic, where I'm from. And I'm so thankful. It was a great experience. But I definitely didn't decide on FAU. I negotiated my way there and rationalized it with my parents to make them think it was based on the international business program instead of the boy I was dating.
It always comes down to a boy, right?
It does. And
There's always something in there.
I'm not married to him. And I bet most girls will, if you ask them if you were following a boy, it's not the one.
That's
But here
not the
we are.
one. You see, Michelle's giving you advice right from the jump, okay? He's probably not the one. They didn't
Probably
end
not
up
the one.
together.
Thank God.
That is a great story. All right, so it obviously worked out, so everything is fine.
It's
You
good. Yeah.
moved to Italy after college too, which I think is so fascinating to me. I mean, I haven't visited Italy, although I would love to go, and that's definitely on my list next to go and check it out. So, what was this dream about in moving to Italy, and what did you learn from that experience?
Oh my gosh, so much. So my best friend, since we were 2 years old, she had studied abroad in Florence, and I had gone to visit her. And I grew up in a very traditional, middle class family. It was different then than it is now. Like we weren't traveling internationally. So it was my first time out of the country when I went to go visit her. And I just fell madly in love with it. And I feel like so many people, their first trip out of the country, that spot that they go always is special. But I'll tell you what, I've been over 15 times now. I just love Florence. And so when we graduated from college, I knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. And I thought, okay, let's open a boutique here in the United States, but import goods from Western Europe and have them be really exclusive. Nobody can find them, a one-stop shop. So we did it. I mean, my best friend sold her car. We were babysitting on top of our normal jobs just to get enough money gathered. And we did, in fact, go over. We had the vision. It almost came to fruition. Unfortunately, time wasn't on our side. This was in 2007 and 8. And for anybody that is listening that doesn't know, that was during the big recession. So, the idea of importing goods with a dollar that was very weak, it just wasn't the time. So we were over there for about a year. We put all of the bones in place, but unfortunately, timing was off. So came home, and I think that truly that is why I am where I am today. Not only because I made terrible financial decisions in college and while I was living in Italy, but also because it gave me a true taste of being an entrepreneur and understanding what that looked like. And then knowing that that was the only path forward for me and what I really wanted to do. It was really interesting. Learned a lot of lessons that were invaluable, but also learned how to not put the cart before the horse. I will never forget. I'm from West Palm Beach, Florida, and I remember finding a couch in an antique store that my best friend and I said, okay, this is it. We are going to buy this, we're going to redo it, and it's going to be the focal point when you walk in. We were young kids, didn't know any better. And I called my dad and I told him, and he's like, what are you going to do with the couch until you open the boutique? You're about to move to Italy. And I said, well, we're going to get a storage unit. And he said, okay, so help me understand. You're going to buy furniture for a store that doesn't exist yet and pay for it for a year. That doesn't make sense. But I wouldn't take no for an answer. And those are those kind of things where not only learning making financial mistakes, but then also learning and not making mistakes in business. I think it was the best thing I could have ever done.
Yeah, you definitely learned a lot in that process. There's no question about it. And listen, everybody makes mistakes. I made a million mistakes.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
better for it today, and I think that's ultimately how you learn. And so, I think that's just great advice for the undergraduate students who are listening right now. And ultimately, I mean, you did work in your dream field. I mean, you worked for Prada for 7 years. What makes Prada such a force in the fashion industry?
So I came home from Italy and had two business degrees in a recession, no prospects, spoke and elementary level Italian, and was thinking, what in the world am I going to do now? And so the fact that I spoke Italian, Prada is a very big, small company. It is still run by, well, at least then, it was still run by the Italians where they would come over. So that was super important and it was a good addition to the resume. So yeah, I started working for Prada and again, knew it was just a pit stop in the journey to learn as much as I could to go out and do the things I wanted to do. So Prada in general, just quality is number one for them. I do think that so many people associate it with a luxury brand that isn't in your face, and they just do it right. Their marketing, their personal touches on the client experience. Yeah, I mean they're legends, and they're a family-owned company still to this day. So I don't know. I think that they set a good example. There's not like logos everywhere. It's not in your face. So people want quiet luxury and Prada, feels special. It makes people feel special, which is part of the reason that I made bad financial decisions because it was easy to fall in love with something and not pay attention to the price tag or if I could afford it at that time.
I certainly understand that. So really good things. And, obviously all of that led up to where you are today, because now you're the founder of the Women in Wealth Initiative. This is a transformative platform aimed at empowering women to take control of their financial future. So, where does all of this financial empowerment come from? Is this essentially you trying to correct all of the mistakes that you made in your younger self, essentially?
Partly that, and partly because of the work that I've done and the experience I've had. So when I left Prada, my first real entrepreneurial journey was I created a product that was meant to protect the bottom of luxury shoes, like Christian Louboutins. And I did it all by myself. So I think that the experience that college gives you is fantastic. But like you mentioned earlier, starting something from the ground up and learning as you go is just so critical to understanding truly how the real world works, right? So I had this product, I had this idea, I wanted to develop it. I was Googling, do I need an NDA? What's a templated NDA? I was sourcing my own manufacturers and doing product design and branding and marketing, all these things. And one of the things that I kept running into was I was definitely in a man's environment and I felt a little bit, not challenged in a bad way, but it was so interesting where people would say, well, who's helping you with this? Your dad's an entrepreneur. Are you going to run this by him? And it was just amazing to see truly what a woman entrepreneur on this journey would face. So I found my way into this world that I'm in now, and I have been a consultant and wealth manager for 12 years. And in that 12 years, I've had the privilege of sitting down with thousands of women, men, business owners, and I kept hearing this commonality when I would sit down with women. They were doing amazing things, but they did not have the confidence that they were doing amazing things. Or they were feeling like, hey, what are all these other alternative investments that people talk about? No one talks to me about real estate. No one talks to me about private credit. They're talking to me about, how to pay down my credit card debt or put money into a Roth IRA. Where do I get more? And really just seeing that so many women were not equipped with the same tools in their financial toolbox. So it was really through that work that I understood what my real purpose and calling was, and that was to change the way women think and feel about money. So I'm in that space. I do private one-on-one consulting and wealth management. But I also was seeing that there were so many women out there that may not need that level of financial planning. Maybe they are not business owners, but they had nowhere to go. There's a lot of information right now everywhere, especially on social media, that sound really good when they're listening, but it may not be a good fit for the person. So I wanted to develop a community and membership platform where women, regardless of stage of life that they were in, net worth, or industry, that they could come and have a plethora of tools at their disposal, not only to learn and educate on the way. So going into the content library, they can look up anything from how do I get out of credit card debt? Is student loan debt bad? Or how do I become an accredited investor? They really can learn at their own pace. So nothing is kind of behind that curtain like in The Wizard of Oz. And then also having a community of peers and mentors that are doing amazing things that they can lean on. They can ask the questions in the circle community. They can find these women in masterminds that we're putting together or listening to my podcast, Talk Wealthy to Me. They have no barrier to entry to learn and educate themselves and have the tools that it will take to live a better life than they had lived prior, and not letting money stand in the way of defining their success.
Wow, that sounds like some incredible resources that you're offering. You're doing such a good service there too. And kind of along those same lines, how do you believe that we can close the pay gap that exists in this country today?
A lot of it comes down to a confidence gap.
Mm,
So that's the easiest thing that we can control. Obviously, women make, less than men in similar jobs. And I do believe that those tides are turning a little bit.
mhm.
But I think where we can really do the hard work together is starting to talk about money with each other. So a lot of time we can say, oh, these conversations happen on the golf course, and they do. But I think women are innately more reserved when it comes to talking about money, talking about opportunities to grow their wealth. And I think that that's where it starts. Women are less likely to raise their hand when they don't understand something. I mean, I'll sit in meetings with people and I know that the person I'm talking to didn't understand what I just said, but she isn't going to stop me and say, okay, what is that? What's an option? Where a guy will, or he'll ask somebody, right? So it comes down to not letting our confidence gap stand in the way of basic knowledge and understanding, talking to each other, not making money such a taboo conversation. When you're sitting down at happy hour with your friends or like having a meal, ask each other, oh, what are you doing? Like, how much are you saving every month? Where are you putting your money? Because the reality is somebody is going to gain something from you, or you're going to gain something from someone else. But all in all, the conversations have to happen to build the confidence that women don't necessarily come by naturally. And we need to just start throwing our hat in the ring. There's a statistic that says when a job is posted in the corporate world, a man will apply for that position when he checks like 2 out of 10 boxes. Women feel like we have to check 9 out of the 10. And we're just not putting ourselves in the right position. And it all comes down to the confidence gap. So I think conversation around money and a place to learn on our own is the easiest thing that we can quickly impact to change the narrative.
That's a great answer. Really, really good stuff. I love that. Okay, so we have a bunch of college students who listen to this podcast regularly. So, what are some tips that college students need to know in order to financially prepare for life after graduation?
So much. But I will start this by saying wherever your listeners are at now, it is temporary. It's funny when you said something about, you wish you would spend differently. I always talk to people about the pitfalls that are so common on college campuses where there's somebody on a Saturday standing at the corner of University and Archer asking you to sign up for a credit card to get a free t-shirt.
Mhm.
It's like those kind of things where unless someone's had the conversation with you, you don't know any better. So I would say number one is to manage your credit and protect it. Right now, most of your listeners are still under the umbrella of their parents, where, like, if they need to go and get an apartment, they have a cosigner, it's their parent, right? But bad financial decisions, and I wish that I had learned this lesson earlier, that impact your credit will haunt you for decades, you guys. So I would say number one, do not open the credit cards because you get a free t-shirt. Do not open the credit cards because they give you 10% off and you're, scraping by barely and think, oh, I'm saving 10%. If the interest rate is 28% and you're not paying it, you're not saving anything. It's costing you. So I would say that number one, protect your credit now. Another thing, and I don't know how many of your listeners may have heard this advice before, but I would challenge any of you guys that are financially okay, that you're not making bad decisions, so your parents won't kind of put their hand up at this. But one of the great things that I wish I had had my parents do earlier is to make me an authorized user on one of their credit cards to start helping to establish that credit. You don't have to even have, so if your parents come back and say, well, you don't need a credit card in my name at call, you can tell them, don't send me the card. I don't need the card. Just make me an authorized user because what it does is it starts to build that credit history that will help when you're in the real world. Also, I would tell you to really manage whatever money you have coming in appropriately. And that's hard in college. And I would be the first to say, I mean, I remember taking the money that my parents would send me for groceries and not spending it and drinking out of soup out of a can because I wanted to go out and have fun with my friends and we needed that money for something else.
Mhm.
So I would say just to manage your what you're getting and what you're living on to the best of your ability. If you are in a position that you have extra every month, start investing. Time in the market is so much more important than timing the market. You know, there's a lot of uncertainty right now and volatility, and that's okay. It's actually a good thing. It's a good opportunity to get in and start investing because everything's on sale. Um, but I would say that if you, even if it's $25 a month, even if it's on Robinhood or, you know, whatever bank you have a relationship with, just start. And I'm happy to provide any resources. If anyone is listening, I'm on Instagram, women underscore in underscore wealth. Feel free to drop me a message. I can give you a tip sheet on where to start. But I think that starting now, that money is going to compound. I heard you say that in the very beginning. That is the most powerful force in nature. Einstein once said that that was the most powerful force is compounding numbers. And it's so true. What compounding does for the credit cards and makes that so terrible, imagine doing that for you when your money is compounding and you're the benefactor of that. There is nothing better. So start investing, protect your credit above all else. Do not open credit cards that you don't need, no matter what you're getting for free. And manage the money that you guys are receiving, whether through jobs or from your parents or money that you've saved really closely. Just don't spend more than you can pay right now. Don't buy something and pay interest. Do everything in your power to avoid that.
Excellent advice for the college students who are listening right now. What about once you get your first job and you're starting out in the workforce? Are there any financial tips that you can share there as a new employee? Because I'm
Mhm.
thinking right now the interest rates are just so high and housing is just so unaffordable for so many people right now. What should they do when they're starting out in the workforce?
So as far as the housing goes, I mean, that is such a tricky situation for everybody. Being in Florida, we have had such an influx of people fleeing to our state because of the tax situation. It's very favorable here.
Mhm.
There's the supply is down and the demand is way up, and now it's very expensive. So everywhere, all over the country is experiencing that. Obviously, some places more than others.
Mhm.
And I would say don't be in a rush to buy a buy a home. Don't think that now that I've graduated, I have to buy something really quickly. There is nothing wrong with renting and living below your means for a while. Because I can tell you as a 40-year-old, if you want to live below your means at some point in your life, it's in your 20s when no one is really judging. But you don't want to be in a situation where you're house poor or spending too much to live in a luxury apartment. It doesn't make any sense at this age. So I would say live below your means. As far as a new job and starting a new career, I think that the very basics are this. Look at the retirement accounts that they're offering you. If it makes sense, and you are not totally strapped for cash, you should always invest in the company's 401k offering as long as you're getting a match. So I would say times have changed. It used to be that somebody went to one career, they worked there for 60 years, and then they retired. It's just not that way anymore. But with that being said, you don't want to miss out on the free money. So it's very likely that the first job that you guys have won't be the job that you have for the rest of your life, but 401ks can be rolled over into IRAs and put in other places. An 401k match is truly the only place that you're getting a 100% return on your money right out of the gate. So look at that, like the benefits package when you get that job, and figure out, I would develop your budget, your monthly spending plan, and figure out, can I afford to put that 3% in? Figure out a way to put it in. And then
Mhm.
if you're getting the 3% match, even if you're only there for a couple of years, that is transferable to other careers. But start today, you guys. It's the easiest way to see your money grow quickly. And I would say the only other piece on a first job is understand the health benefits they're getting. For some of you all, you may be in a position where you can stay on your parents' stuff until you're 26, I believe it is. That's always a win because health insurance is expensive.
Mhm.
And I would say that this isn't necessarily financial advice, but I think it's advice that I wish someone had given me. When you are starting out in a brand new career, don't burn a bridge. This world is so small, and especially when you're just starting out, your reputation will precede you, depending on the size of the town that you're in or the city. You don't want to run into somebody that you were fired from a job because you were a jerk or couldn't show up on time, and then have this be much higher stakes, and they remember. Do the right thing, find a job that you can put 110% into, and don't be afraid to ask for what you're worth, but also don't burn bridges.
Yeah, that's really sage advice. I hear employers talking about that all the time, especially for somebody's first time job. They'll end up quitting by essentially just not showing up that day. And there's no 2 weeks notice, like there's nothing. And I'm telling you, that is going to end up biting you because this is a very, very small world and people talk. And you're going to need that reference one day. And they're going to call your employer and say, "Tell me about Michelle." And if the answer was, "Oh, she ghosted me and basically didn't give me 2 weeks notice. Just one day she didn't show up for work, and that was the last time I heard from her." That is going to be problematic for you in your career. Okay.
Yeah, it's a big deal. People like that happens all the time. And the other thing now, something I didn't have to worry about when I was just starting out, but people are looking on social media
Mhm.
to see kind of what kind of shenanigans you're up to. So just remember that. And I mean, this is such a precious time in life of really the launching pad of your future. And listen, we all make mistakes, financial and otherwise. But just understand that easier if you have good credit, good relationships, and have lived below your means in the very beginning.
Yeah, really good stuff. The last thing, all this financial advice was fantastic, but the reality is that you've overcome so much adversity in your life, in your career. It just goes on and on and on. So, just generally speaking, do you have any advice for college students to overcome the obstacles that are no doubt going to hit them at some point? How do you get up when these obstacles are being thrown your way all the time?
Honestly, I tell everybody the having leukemia at 17, I had never had a cavity. I came home from cheerleading. I was supposed to cheer in college. I mean, I truly had this big life that's very different than the one I have now
Mhm.
planned. And it was such a gift because I think the best thing that anybody listening can remember is your mindset truly is everything. It's the only thing that you can control. Life is going to happen to you. And you just have to make a decision every day that you cannot be focused on the negative, be focused on solutions. When something bad happens, figure out quickly how to resolve it, how to pivot. And it is so easy to be nice and do good. I have two young kids now, and something I've always lived by is leave everyone and everything better than you find them. And I feel like your mindset and truly protecting what you let in is so important from the time you're a young kid until you're 100 years old.
Mm.
Life is not easy for anybody. Everyone has their own crosses to bear, but truly, how you attack those things with your mindset is the only way to get out of this thing alive.
Yeah. Keep that positive mindset. I love it. Really good stuff. All right. So you live in Florida and you happen to be in Orlando, a very popular city
Yes.
for a certain mouse that resides there. So I love good food and I do end up in that neighborhood of the country every so often. So I'm wondering the next time I'm in Orlando, where should I be going for a great meal? Is there some place I should go for a great meal?
Do you like sushi?
I do.
So, do you like sushi?
Yep.
So, there's a great place called Kabuki. We are frequent diners there, but it is truly an experience. It's incredible. There's two locations. I would tell you to run there the next time you're in town.
That sounds perfect to me. I miss some really good sushi. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, which is landlocked. So any sushi that's in Nashville, I will tell you, you might want to pass because that was flown in. So anything that I can get that's fresh is an absolute yes for me. I love sushi. I will definitely go and check that out next time I am in Orlando. So thank you for
You're
that.
welcome. Truffle Maduro, get that. It's heaven.
I bet it is. All right. So if our college student listeners or recent graduates need help with their financial planning, where should they go in order to connect with you?
So again, on Instagram, it's women underscore in underscore wealth. And then the membership and community platform, the tier one is was really important for me that it was accessible to every community that is geared towards starting on the right foot for recent graduates, but they can find the community at womenandwealth.co. And then, of course, I have a podcast as well called Talk Wealthy to Me. And yeah, drop any comments or DMs in Instagram, any of the tools or resources I've talked about. I'm happy to share and excited to help anyone I can.
That sounds fantastic, Michelle. It's women underscore in underscore wealth on Instagram. Go and connect with her there or Talk Wealthy to Me is the podcast. Fantastic work, Michelle. You're really doing some great services out there. So I appreciate all the resources that you're putting out there. Thank you so much for being with us on the show today. All right. And to our
Oh, thank you
listeners,
so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
of course, to our listeners, if you enjoyed this talk with Michelle, I want you to like it and I want you to share it with other college students that need her help. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks so much. Bye for now.